Appreciate everyone who tuned into the Twitch stream. We're just going to make sure the audio works on my handy dandy phone.
See if I need to adjust. All
right, yeah, I do think we're live. So
there we go.
Before we get into it, I'm going to hit plus. Wow, the connection over here is not that good.
I didn't feel like I had any connection issues over where we are. Because right now, we're just on the opposite side of the room from where we were. So if like on stream, you could probably hear it or see it from the camera setup earlier.
Yeah. Test 1, 2.
Test.
Yeah, it works.
Oh, bet.
Bet.
Your speakers are super low, my guy.
Oh, on this one, yeah. This phone's like 20 years old. All right, thank you everyone for tuning in. See, we got 3 viewers right now. We are post Pirate Dog Cards and Collectibles show. Where are we at right now? I'm so out of it.
We're at the Marriott Inn, I think the Courtyard Marriott. Boom, the Courtyard Marriott in Glen Allen, Virginia.
Yeah, I'm here with my guy Thomas from Bevan Breaks TCG. Follow him on Instagram if you haven't. He posts great content. He went live yesterday. Actually had a few people watching you, so I was really happy for you. I was plugging a lot of questions in there.
Thank you. Yeah, I texted John. I said, hey man, do you think it'd be a good idea to go live? All I'm doing is doing show prep. I'm just pricing out cards, comping slabs, and seeing like, okay. I mean, why not? I do it before every show. So I said, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to go live, see what happens. And we had, I think, in total, like maybe 20 different people come through. And I think at max, I had maybe like 6 people hanging out at one time, which is like, it's fun. I had other vendors popping in and.
Yeah, I mean, not bad for your first stream. I'll tell you that much. I had like one person watch. It was my girlfriend when I first started streaming.
Hey, my girlfriend popped in at the end and she was like, oh my God. I saw the stream, but it was only at the end. And I said, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
So I'm going to lay down the foundation a little bit for everybody. If we sound a little bit quieter than normal, we've been here since 7, setting up for the show. Show started at 9.
Show started at, I think, 9, and it is
ended at like 4:30, and we were still packing up and doing deals. I was doing deals. You were doing deals by 5. So, yeah, we're a little bit tired, but we're here. And what I really want to focus on is, again, the show is going to be called Between Two Vendors, but I really want to create some perspective on what vendors do to be successful and continue to build a community within not just Pokemon, but the TCG market. Because, when one thing is rising, everything else rises. I've actually seen like One Piece go up now too.
One Piece is going crazy. I've seen more people collect like DBZ. I don't even know how playable DBZ is, but I mean, I see people like collecting. And I mean, obviously, sports its trajectory has maintained throughout the year. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of a lull because we're like in the off season for football, but I mean, everything is like overall, it's trending upwards. Right now, we might see a dip in the market for Pokemon. But our dip in the market is still higher than it was 3 months, 6 months ago.
Cool. So we're gonna start off with some softball questions.
I don't know anything about
age,
softball.
Social Security. No, I'm just kidding. And then we're gonna go into maybe a little bit more pressing questions that maybe people who purchase from vendors think about when they're buying from us. But we'll start with, in my opinion, one of the funnest questions is, what is your favorite Pokemon?
Alakazam. Every day of the week. Yep. I have
why?
You know what? Here's the thing. So I started collecting again back in 2023, right around Christmas. As 151 had come out, and I was just like, whatever. And so then I started collecting, and then every time I was at a show, someone was like, "What's your favorite Pokemon?" I really didn't have like a diehard favorite. Like I grew up on Generation 3. In Generation 3, I had Fire Red Leaf Green, and I had Ruby Sapphire Emerald. That's what I grew up. That's my core. So I grew up on Gen 1 and Gen 3. Not a whole lot of Gen 2.
Yep.
And so one of the mons that you could get in both game was Abra. And the idea of an Alakazam always seemed so amazing to me, but I could never, like, I had brothers, but we never traded between games. And so the like Alakazam was always just out of my reach.
Yeah.
But I would still get the Abra, and I would evolve it into Kadabra until about the third or fourth gym, and then it would like, okay, then I have to transition up because like I can't get an Alakazam. And that was like, I did it in Emerald, Sapphire, Ruby. I did it in Fire Red, Leaf Green. And so like the idea of an Alakazam has always just been like sick to me. And so when it was it was my time to decide what's my favorite, I said, it's Alakazam. I wanted it. Now I have it.
I don't get a lot of folks asking me for Alakazams. Obviously, the 151 has one of the chase cards.
Yeah.
We're going to go so far off a tangent. And by the way, we're going to try and keep this at 30 minutes, but if we go past, we go past.
Yeah.
Didn't a guy like prevent Pokemon from printing any other type of Alakazams for like years?
Kadabra.
Okay.
Like you could not print a Kadabra card. Like someone had like coined or like copyrighted the word Kadabra. I think it was a musician because Abra, Kadabra, Alakazam.
See?
Like that was I think that was the shtick behind it all.
I know some knowledge. There was some context to that.
Yeah, that was valid.
Cool. Next question. Now that we know that's your favorite Pokemon, what got you into the hobby? How long have you been into vending? And what's your favorite set? 3 questions in one.
Favorite set, 151. Second favorite set, Fates Collide. Fates Collide because there were so many Alakazams in it. Okay. I think it's just like a cool set. It's got really great hits. So those are my 2. The reason 151 is my favorite set is because it's what brought me back into the hobby. I don't even know where I saw it, but there was just 151 had cool Pokemon cards. And I was like, well, that seems kind of neat. And so I told my brother, I was like, well, for Christmas, I want a 151 ETB. Like, I don't know. I was like, I don't care about Pokemon. I don't care about it. I was just like, it would just be cool to rip. Like, I just want to open up packs because my brother is always into Magic and my younger brother's into Yu-Gi-Oh!
Uh-huh.
And so we were always ripping some sort of packs. And my best friend, Preston, who vends, is Quadgon Gen on Instagram, by the way. He rips sports, and so we were always ripping some sort of packs. So I was like, you know what? I want to rip something. I want to rip something from me, not just somebody else's stuff. So 151, and the first pack I ever opened when I got back into it as an adult, I pulled the Gold Mew and the Full Art Blastoise in the same pack.
Do you regret ripping that ETB now?
No, I don't regret it at all. I master setted 151 by ripping it.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't regret ripping 151 at all. I do, however, regret not buying every single ETB that I could possibly buy. But I will say I finally broke down, and a few months ago I purchased the Pokemon Center 151 ETB.
Good. It was a few months ago,
It was a few months ago.
Yeah.
And it has already paid dividends. I have not. It's in my personal collection. It's on a shelf at home.
80%. I'm just kidding.
How about I'll do 80% on top of an additional 100%?
Oh gosh! All right, so 151's your set.
Yep.
How long have you been vending, and why?
My first show was October of 2024.
Okay.
So I have not been vending for an extremely long time.
Closing in on 6 months.
I guess I am.
Yeah, I mean that's half a year, and you're successful.
I you know what? I think you can define success in a lot of ways.
Uh-huh.
But the reason why I got in is I just wanted more cards. I wanted to sell cards so I could buy cards because I did some mental math and I looked up some of my bank statements and I was like, yo, this is a problem. I was ripping 151 and it had started to get a little expensive. I wanted to rip. I wanted to collect. I was grading at the time because why not? And I had gotten a couple PSA 10s. I think at my first ever show, I had a PSA 10 Bubble Mew in my case. And it was right when it peaked. It started its initial peak, and I had it in my case for $750.
Gone. Oh, you held on to it?
I still have it.
What?
I still have it. It peaked at 1.1. I had it up into my case. And for a couple of shows, no one bought it because they were too afraid of it. It came down a little bit, and then it peaked again at 1.1. And throughout that whole, I had it in my case for 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah.
And then I decided, I'm good. It's mine. I want it.
It's kind of a hard pull if you think of the set too.
Oh yeah, it's a hard pull. And there's 3 SIRs in that set.
Yeah.
Or 3 SIR Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So vending for 6 months, you got into it basically to fund your love of trading.
Yeah.
Right?
I just fell in love with the hobby. Like I fell in love with like going to my local shops. I fell in love with like the art of collecting, right? So like you start with binders, and then you go into a top loader binder, and then now you're going into cases, and it's the whole art of it. Like I was grading and then selling cards that were graded to make money so I could buy raw cards so I could put them in my binder, and it was just like this amalgamation of like all of these things, and that led to my decision to start selling on a regular basis. And within the last 3 months, it has just, I think it's exploded for me personally. Like I've started vending not only like on Saturdays, but I've been starting vending Sundays, traveling to shows. I think, Poke Bashes have been really good, but like even, local shows like today where it
was a hot market today.
What is it like?
40 vendors, and half of us were Pokemon, half of us were trading, like sports cards.
So like, okay, 40 vendors, and maybe we have 60 tables in here. Maybe like, and for the last 2 hours, it was just like boom, 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 boom.
I looked to my right, and I was just like, he's wheeling and dealing. We got a fun story too in a second because I helped him close a deal. Oh my gosh!
And yeah, dude, it's just, I don't know. I've fallen in love with it. Given the fact that I chose this at my hobby, like, I don't know, it's doing me justice.
Yeah. Hot take. I think, in my mind, hopefully probably a little romanticizing, I think the majority of vendors become vendors because they want to continue to build off of their collection and their hobby. I do think there might be kind of a different vision when it comes to like the general public being like, I think a lot of these folks, and we're going to transition into the next topic, are like resellers.
Yeah.
That's not entirely true. So we'll get into that. There's 2 trigger words, right? What is your opinion on the word scalper and reseller?
Reseller. Well, I think anybody who sets up a show is technically a reseller. So, I mean, the idea of the word reseller, that has essentially 0 value to me because I don't like that. Terminology isn't necessarily in my vocabulary when I am referencing my hobby. Like scalpers, that word has been thrown around a lot. And honestly, like I think there's a very small, in the grand scheme of things, I think there's a very small portion of the people who participate in this hobby that can be classified as scalpers. Like if you decide that you're going to camp out at, Target, Walmart, GameStop, any retailer at like 5 a.m. so you can scoop up all the product and then turn around and triple it market value. Like, yes, there is profit in that. However, that does conflict with me morally sometimes.
Yeah.
Am I a perfect being? No. Have I bought something at a retail store and been able to sell it for a profit? Yes. Have I cleaned out the shelves of any retailer?
Shelves, yeah.
No.
I stopped actually going to retail locations because
I
as a collector, wanted to just hunt for something and I couldn't find it. I was like, I'm spending a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah, the only time that I've been able to rip product recently is if I'm out of town and I go to a Target and I find some tins.
Middle of nowhere Target.
Yeah, or like I've ordered product. Like I was able to get pre-orders of Journey Together, and I had 3 booster boxes. I ripped 2 of them, and I'm saving 1 for my own like personal sealed collection.
Yeah.
Right. So like today, a guy brought in a Journey Together Pokemon Center ETB. I'm like, okay, well, that will go to my sealed collection. Like, it's just, nice to hold on to. And it's, say what you want about it, but
I think it's like, it's just market. I don't know how else to
I
say
think the idea of market and the idea of scalpers are two different things.
Yeah.
Like people can attempt to manipulate the market, but the market will always correct itself.
Yep.
The market, I think the market is what's determining what scalpers are doing. 100%. I think people will this population of people will try to manipulate the market, so the market will then do them justice, and it's sort of like this potentially vicious cycle. But if the market's not there, the scalpers are not there. The market is driven by the hobby, So like if the hobby is deciding collectively that Bubble Mew is underrated and it should no longer be $80, and this needs to be more valuable, and people start buying higher and higher and higher and higher, then
the price goes up.
Then the price goes up, but then in turn, Paldean Fates goes up because people are chasing that Bubble Mew. But then they don't want to pay the market price of a Bubble Mew, so then they're going to the packs like, okay, I want to try to rip for it, and that's what drives the market of the sealed product, and but inversely, there are cards out there where people really don't care about. I think the Reggie Drago from Silver Tempest is underrated. It is a $16 alt art from Sword and Shield. It is ridiculously cheap.
It's got a Lugia.
It's got a Lugia in the background.
Yeah.
It's also like the Beedrill V alt art from Astral Radiance, underrated, and these cards are hard to pull.
It's still a $25 card, though, right?
It's like a $25 or $30 card, but
expensive card.
I think probably my vision of an expensive card is warped based on the fact that because I'm a vendor. But still, it's like even when I was a collector and it was a $30 card, I was like, oh well, let me put this in the stack of a bunch of $5 and $10 cards. Yeah. And I guess for me, like a $30 card as a collector, that's like an alt art and stuff like that is not necessarily the craziest thing in the world, because if I find a base set Alakazam for $30, I'll probably buy it.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of like how it is for me.
Yeah. So there's definitely a fine line between like a reseller, scalper, and a vendor. I will say most of the time, the majority of us want to approach it from an ethical standpoint, want to make a little bit of money and keep fueling our hobby.
Yeah.
It's a little loose correlation, but there's a 151 UPC that I didn't start the show out with, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually own one. This is the first 151 UPC that I've ever had. My brother has like 10 of them.
Really?
Yes.
I ripped many of them.
Exactly. And, gentleman offered it to me, and I'm like, well, the market's like 350. I want to be a little bit aggressive because I want it for my PC. So I'll offer you like 82%, knowing he probably bought it for 160.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm buying it for current market, like 80% of current market, which was significantly more than 160. And I'm like, I still want it. Obviously, he had no problem with it because key words, in his words, I don't want to sit on it. So I'll take the risk.
Yeah.
I'll shell out a couple $100. And he was happy. And then he went and bought from your booth, from the other vendor. He just went on a shopping spree. I was like, I don't have it. I want it. I'm gonna buy it.
I did the same thing with a Journey Together Pokemon Center ETB today. I bought it at like higher than retail value.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna sit on it, and it could go up, it could go down. I'm the one holding the risk here in this equation. So it's like,
is that like a $200 ETB right now?
It was counted at $138.
Jeez. And like what? It was 60 on Pokemon Center?
Pokemon Center, I think you can get it for $60, $65, one of the two. And then regular ETBs are $55.
Yeah. And I'll just speak for myself. That's kind of why I don't necessarily display anything of the newer sets. I may have one ETB, one booster box, but all the singles. So I'll talk about the Lily's Clefairy. First show I went to when the set came out, I was seeing them in cases, and that's fine. Again, market desirability.
Yeah.
Vendors were moving them for $350, $400. The next show I went to, people were trying to sell them for $300, $250, and I was like, that's, again, if I sold you something for $350 and the very next day you wake up, it's like $200, I'd feel some type of way.
I think,
hot take.
I don't know. In my opinion, if you're buying the card, it's because you want it.
Yep.
And so whatever that sort of price is, Like it is upon the buyer to determine its value to them. Maybe not necessarily based off market value, because if someone's going to come up to your table and spend almost $400 on a card, like the barrier of entry between let's say a 250 to a 300 or a 400 to a 450, those are like between a $1 and a $50 card, that barrier is ginormous.
Yep.
But between a $400 or a $450 card, that barrier is very thin. And especially when you're getting into like $1,000, $1,050. Like that's like what are we talking about?
10% of 1,000. It's $100.
Well, 5%.
Yeah.
But still, like it comes down to like if that person's desirability is there, that determines their value of that personally for their collection. So if someone buys a card for $250 and then within a week it drops down to $200 and then $150, that's the market. It's the same reason when you buy a card at $50 and then 2 weeks later it's $100.
Bubble Mew,
man.
So we could go on a tangent about market volatility, especially in today's market. Here's one thing I want us to kind of get back down and focus on. As of lately, social media, you see a lot of vendors, including myself, starting to stream, showing people like the vendor POVs. I've personally had a few folks come up to me, ask for that experience. Like, hey, how does it feel like on the other side of the table? And I've said, hey, if you really want to experience it, come to a show with me.
Yeah.
I was at 10 people ask me, 2 people are really game to do that. And, I'll throw some names out. TK Trades. He was curious. He was a buyer for the longest time. And then I showed him a couple of tips and tricks, and now he's vending.
There you go.
Mutant Collects. Same thing. He came and sold some of the stuff at my booth, and now he's buying 2 tables at every show he goes to.
There you go.
I'm going to give you all some context. So I met Thomas, I want to say 5 months ago?
In this building.
5 months ago?
I think that the first time that we ever vended and I had a legitimate conversation was right over there.
Yeah, that's October?
That was Pokebash 2.
Yeah.
So it was back in probably late January, early February.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I've known Thomas for a while, but what I'm trying to say is when I met him, you had 1 case. We both had 1 case.
I had 1 case.
And it was pretty full. Like, you had space to grow.
Yeah, at that point I was like considering expanding. I had bought the single case and I had sort of layered all of my cards on top of each other. But I also had the binder and the bulk cards, and at that show I had some sealed product.
We did well that show.
We did very well that show. It was Pokebash. I mean, Pokebash does great.
Shout out Jason. So
shout out Pirate Dog.
The point I was trying to make, right, is you invested some time in it, and show over show, I kept seeing Thomas at all the shows that I go to. You probably do 2, 3 times as many. I do 2 a month. You do probably 4, 5, 6.
I try to do like 4 or 5 a month. Yeah,
exactly. And every time I saw Thomas, I'm like, his booth keeps growing. Like he is outpacing what the current volume he has. I'm like, I really want to interview that guy because he's doing it right, and you can see it.
See, Melton,
from just what he's bringing, even the value of the stuff that you're bringing has increased. The deals that you're making, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, everyone knows that Thomas is now a successful vendor. Walk me through the steps you took to be a successful vendor. Because I know it wasn't easy.
Okay, hot take. It kind of was. I mean, okay, and I'm not. This is not trying to be boastful. Not trying to be egotistical at all. I'm just like, for me, this is something that comes naturally to me.
Yep.
It is the community. It's engagement. It's conversation. It is like relating to people. Like, I operate as a vendor the way I would want to be. I would want to be treated as a buyer. So all of my deals are very honest. I tell people my opinion. Here's the thing. If like you were going to come up to me with some vintage cards and I'm like, all right, and I'll straight up tell you, okay, what I'll do is I'm going to give my evaluation and say, I want us to come to an agreement as to if this is MP, LP, whatever this is, I'm going to say, here's what I'm valuing everything at. if it's like LP plus or MP plus, like I'm like, okay, well, we can meet in the middle for an evaluation.
Light play, moderate play, heavy play. If you don't know the context of what we're saying,
Yeah.
acronyms.
Yes, acronyms. That's one of the things that sometimes I'm not perfect at is the shorthand of everything, because not everybody at a show is a veteran in a show.
They're like, MP, what's that mean? I'm like, oh, it just means
It's
loved.
moderately played.
Yeah.
And so it's, for me, I'm just operating honestly. I'm I have all of my things priced from the day before.
Yep.
So if I think something is growing, I'm probably just not going to have it in the case. Like if I want to hold something for it to like grow value over the course of a couple of months, it'll either just not be in the case, or it will just have its sticker. Like its sticker is going to be what the market is that day or the night before.
So, not to cut you off, knowing your market, knowing like the product you're selling.
Yep.
Accurately pricing it, being ethical about it. I think that's the word. Like and knowing how to talk to people and building business relationships, I think is key. Yeah. Hot take. I see a lot of successful vendors, and usually they're the ones that are standing up pretty much the whole show.
Oh yeah, that's
90% of the show, right?
This is a tip from a vendor.
Yeah,
right.
We're gonna get into that because I'm gonna ask you like tips.
So from my point of view, I stand the majority of the show, right? There are key times when I sit down.
Yeah, when you're pricing or something.
There's like that. Sure, when you're pricing or when you're restickering something. When a child comes up. Physically, you do not want to be bigger than a child.
Nope.
You want to come down to a child's level and you want to talk to them. You want a child to be eye to eye. You also want their parent to be looking down at you. Like from a position of a vendor, like physically, you don't always want to have the high ground.
Yeah.
Right? Like you want there is like a physical reaction to somebody's body language when they are bigger than you, when they are taller than you, like when they physically feel like they have you at an upper ground, right? So like if you are sitting down and someone's looking down at you, like, but you have already created this engagement where like we're standing, we're talking, and then it's like, okay, I sit down and say, okay, let's do this thing. And like we are pushing on to this agreement of like, and then we are starting this transaction. It's like we start here, we're level, like emotionally, like, and then in negotiating, we're still right here, but physically you think you're like taller than me or you're bigger than me. Like that is the thing that I think about, like in terms of standing, sitting. Yes, there are times where I'm sitting in the show because my knees hurt, right?
Well, I'm old.
But there's a time and a place to, I think, be sitting versus be standing.
Yeah, I want to engage everyone that comes to my, even if they walk past me and say, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Yeah,
that's just me. And there's some truth. There's some math to the whole, getting on one knee or getting below. Yeah. I actually think I give more cards away to kids at shows than I actually intake. And, I had a vendor come up to me, "Hey, sorry, my son was just bothering you the whole time."
Oh, man.
In my head, I'm like, if he bothered me, I'm in the wrong hobby.
Yeah, dude. Like, the same kid came up to my table and we talked and we I think we tried to do a trade. And like, that's one of the things that sort of trips me up sometimes is like when a kid comes to my table and has legit stuff.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Like,
you look through the binder,
like a kid comes to my table and I'm seeing $20, $30 cards, and I'm like, emotionally I'm like, all right, I just kind of want to do a straight trade with this kid. But like this kid knows what he's got.
Yeah.
Like the kid's in the hobby. It's time to buck up and be in the hobby,
Yeah.
So like, but then there's also there's actual children. It's like, okay, cool. Like here's some cards. Take it. Like be happy.
Like I give away, I think, more cards. Obviously, we're not talking like $100, $200, $300 cards.
There's a bulk bin, There's a dollar bin,
And the reaction is what gets me. I'm like, exactly, because hot take. When I was a kid, like I had the hand-me-down of the cards. I had 3 older siblings, so I had to go through them first before I ever got. All my basic cards are like the ones that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
Like the Ratatas.
Yeah.
Cool. So we kind of set that stage. You're a successful vendor. You're growing. 1 or 2 tips to someone who's just thinking about vending, because we actually had a few people come up to us and be like, I think I might do it, and I'm like, do it. Just jump in. But
yeah, I mean, besides just that the sitting versus standing is a little bit more in-depth psychology of like the art of negotiation, really. But yeah, dude, if you want to start, just start. Like honestly, that's what I did. I was scared to start. I didn't really know how to contact anybody. In fact, like my first show was set up because a buddy of mine wanted to vend and he fell through and I took his table. And that's how I started. I was like, oh, yo, this is sick. I was like, this is awesome. And so then it was like, I just reached out. I just reached out to people and I booked shows. But I don't know. Operate within your percentages. Like,
that's a big one.
Don't overspend. Like, if you want to make money flipping cards, whether it is to grow your personal collection or is to truly just gain profit because it is your business, operate within your percentages and be honest about your percentages. Like, just before you start comping all of these cards and like doing a lot of work, if someone comes up to you with 15 alt arts or 15 low or 15 anything, say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I was like, ask them, what do you want to get out of this? Are you looking for cash? Are you looking for trade? What are we looking for? It's like, oh, I'm thinking about, what's cash? It's like, okay, well, cash, I'll do 70 or 75. 70 if it's like super low end. 75 pretty much for anything else.
Yeah.
80 I'll trade. Yeah. And if someone says, oh, I'm really looking to trade, it's like, okay, save yourself a little bit of work. Have them go through your case, say, this is what I'm looking for. In the meantime, while they're sort of browsing, you can get an idea of like what the value is of some of that stuff. If like it's some like couple $100 slabs, then do a quick inventory and say, okay, this is what I can do for you. Just quickly based off XYZ, I know I can fit you into these alt arts, or if you want to do a bunch of things, like this one card can get you into a bunch of these cards. Yeah. It's like know like what's going on, what could happen, and so that way something can happen. Just like be aware of the value of what you have, be aware of what you have, so that way when someone comes to you, you are prepared for that scenario. There's not a lot of thinking involved. It's just doing. Like, the idea is that if someone comes up to your table and says, oh, hey, do you have the 151 square? It'll be like, oh yeah, it's right here. You know
where your inventory is.
Exactly.
You can't be scrambling around looking for it. And I'm going to add on to this. Know where your fellow vendor's inventory is.
Yes.
I will tell you, like at least half a dozen times today, I didn't have something, but I was like, I know who has it.
This guy.
That guy.
This guy.
Or the gentleman with the sealed product, and I would literally point at them, and he'd be like, me? Tag me in.
Yep.
Done deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the building relationships in the vending space is like, John and I, we sat up next to each other, and anytime I didn't have something, it's like, boom, this guy. And at the time, like, I had some of those Sea and Sky boxes, and like people would ask you, be like, hey, do you have the Sea and Sky boxes? I'd be like, no, me. It's like, so it's just like, it's a back and forth. It's like, okay, if I can't make the sale, I want my guy to make the sale, And the fact that, you reciprocate that to me is like mad respectful.
Building relationships.
Yeah.
It goes so far in this hobby. You can't do it solo. I mean, you can, but you're going to step on a lot of folks.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. You can boil it down to pretty much 3 words. It's like, don't be rude. Don't be rude. Just be honest. Have a smile on your face when a kid comes to your table. And like, push comes to shove, if someone is being overtly aggressive, or they're not being very nice at your table, or they're not respecting you or your space,
just have to hold off for now.
Like, kill them with kindness. Be like, hey, I appreciate it, but
it's a fair offer, but I'll have to hold off for now.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I think I'll just pass. I appreciate you coming though. Like, you have pretty much all of the power in the scenario as a vendor.
Yeah.
Like, a buyer can come in and say no. But if like you were working a deal, like at the end of the day, it's like it's your table, right?
Yeah.
You're sort of in control of what happens at your table. So if something goes wrong at your table, it will come down on you in some way, shape, or form. So you are the king or queen or person of your own space.
Yeah.
So like you have to be able to like sort of play nice, with everybody, whether they're being nice or not. You have to have the higher ground, and you have to be respectful. And it's that sort of activity and that sort of mindset that really grows the positive side of our community.
Yeah, and people will keep coming back to your booth.
Yep.
So, a couple of tips that Thomas gave, knowing your inventory, knowing where it's at, pricing it correctly, being a good person, right, it goes a long way.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you, I made a mistake today. I had a Rayquaza from Silver Tempest, the Chase one.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what it was priced at? Because I forgot to price it the other night.
About $100.
Let me say it's an $80 card right now.
Yep.
Guess what it was in my case for?
Well, it peaked at probably about 110. Was it still at 110 or something? Higher than that?
No, it was priced at 50.
Ooh.
And I told the guy 50, and I was like, I feel like that's light. I looked it up. I was like, yeah, I'm way light. Well, I priced it 2 weeks ago, and he looked at me. I was like, no, if it's in my case for that much, and I've got it hard tagged, by all means. And guess what? He bought like 5 more things for me.
There you go.
Then he went to your booth, bought some more things.
There you go, yeah.
And then bought all the blooming waters off of everyone's tables. Yeah, that gentleman.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely happened to me for some of my low-end stuff. Like the things that go in the binder, things that go in the bulk, and like Pokebatch too. We were sitting over there. I had a guy, there was a Giovanni's Charisma. Or not a Giovanni's Charisma. It was like it's a Giovanni something, whatever it was. I had it in my bin for $2. And he said, hey, man, when'd you price these? I was like, yeah, it's been a minute. And he goes, this one's a little bit more expensive. I said, oh, okay. Well, I comped it up, and it was a $12 card.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what do you want to do? And he goes, I don't know. I said, well, my price is $2. He was like, well, I don't want to give you $2. I said, call it $4.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I priced it low. That's what I'm selling it for. Like, sure, am I about to lose money on it? Not really. Yeah. Like, because in my head,
investing.
My head canon is that okay? I got into this card when it was valued at $2. Like, I'm not gonna intentionally like try to 6x my profit, like because you have now noticed that I wasn't doing the things that I was supposed to be doing. Like, if you want to give me more than that, fine. But like, $4, and that's what we did. I said it's $4, and he ended up buying it.
Yeah, I tried that relationship.
I tried to give it for $2. That's all I'm saying.
I tried to do the same thing today, and the lady was like, "No, let me give you something." I was like, "Oh, you want to do $1?" Yeah. I was like, "If that makes you happy, you can give me $1, even though I'm trying to give you this free card."
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, we could.
We can talk about stories all the live long day about like the silly interactions that happen, whether it's at our expense or at anybody else's. It's just like it happens a lot.
This will not be the last interview / podcast that we do between two vendors. 2 things. You pick up anything cool today at the show? You got a nice shiny case behind us.
Oh yes. What did I pick up today? I think. What did I pick up today? I picked up a booster box today.
Ooh.
A Fusion Strike. That was very nice.
Where'd you pick that up from?
I was a little guy, though.
Oh God.
Yeah. No. I don't. Oh, okay. I picked up 2 Alakazams for my personal collection. I picked up, it was a Fates Collide Secret Rare and the Fates Collide Mega Alakazam Full Art. I picked those up. I picked up many common and reverse hollow ends PP up.
He's gonna try and pull the market on ends PP up from Journey Together.
I got a whole binder. I'm building a binder. If you got ends PP up, if you've been ripping Journey Together and you have bulk, send it to me. DM me. Bevan Breaks TCG. BEVAN Breaks TCG. Hit me up. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just had a good time today. Yes, cool. Like this, getting some sealed product was cool to hold for a while. But
7.5 hours felt like 3 hours to me.
Oh
at
my
least.
God.
It was speeding through, and like again,
The last 3 hours went like that for me. Because I looked at the time at one point and I was like, really? It's only 1 o'clock?
yeah, and
I was
then
like,
it was
wow.
like 4. I was like,
And then it was like,
whoa.
oh, it's 4:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think those are some really cool pickups for me. I did a lot of really cool deals. I got a bunch of like the EV Alt Art promos in today.
Someone was just flooding the market in here with all the EVL art promos.
I picked up Flareon V, V Max, Jolteon V. I picked up a bunch of them.
Yeah, me too.
I know. Shining Mew. That was a really cool pickup. That sold today. I picked up the Snorlax Pokemon Center promo. That was gone today. I picked up a lot of cool. Like it's just like things come and go.
Feeding the beast.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked up a lot of PSA 10 slabs.
PSA 10, PSA 9, PSA 10.
I picked up that Blastoise because I'm a big fan of Big Boy Blastoise. But I'll recap a little bit. So we went over like current market, how you would go about starting off as a vendor. Definitely like really strongly sided towards just being an ethical, real person when talking to people. Don't buy more if you're vending than you're actually selling, because then you're just gonna put yourself in a bad spot. Stay within your means. Like it's extremely easy to come in here and spend $1,000 in like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. I'll say there's a caveat to this though. Trading is king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trading is king. Like if you can trade with somebody where you and them are happy about what's happening, and you can grow your inventory and they are still happy with what they're receiving, that I think is the ultimate. Like that's the perfect deal. It's like almost exact straight trading. Like even if you're taking things in our percentage as a vendor, you are growing your inventory without spending any money.
Yep.
And they are improving their personal collection without spending any money.
I'm with you. I actually tried that last week. I was at another card show. I don't think you were at that card show. I think you were on vacation, but I did a deal in the parking lot. So I had about $180 in cash. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I still got it. I walked on that card show. I started doing deals. And at the end of it, I walked out with the PSA 10 Groudon. I was like, man, I still got it. I'm still cooking. And I wasn't even a vendor. And I wasn't stomping on other vendors.
Yeah.
I was trading at like 92, 93% because I didn't want to take food off of their plate. Mm-hmm. And a couple of them looked at me like, wait, you don't want a deal? I'm like, no. Just if I ever have a card that you want or something, like we'll make a deal here. But like, I want you to eat too. So, okay, cool.
Respecting the other vendors in the space. Big part of it. Because if people don't like you when you walk in the door, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of deals done.
Yeah. I'm going to clip that. Yeah, there's a lot of right things that you can do in the hobby, and there's also a lot of wrong things. I don't know if that's going to make sense to anyone there, but trust me, you can rub people the wrong way. That's all I'm going to say.
That you can.
Trade up challenge.
Children. It's great for kids.
Yeah.
It's great for kids. Until you're about 9.
I am gonna have a different perspective. If there's been a card that I know is, it's gonna sit for a while and it's actually technically a little bit more than what they're giving me, I'll probably do it. But I have one rule. One person gets to do a trade up challenge with me, and then I'm done for the rest of the day. That's it.
Yeah, there have been times where,
it's a hot topic. You're trying so hard to.
And teenagers try to do that thing, and I'm like, sorry, no. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's your decision as a vendor. But for me, if you're a grown adult or you have the sense and the money to be in the hobby collecting Pokemon cards, and I'm not going to do a trade-up challenge with you. I'm sorry. That's just not what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. However, if you're a child and you come to my table, you're like, I'm doing a trade-up challenge, and I can clearly see you're
trying to build something.
You're trying to do something. Okay, cool. I'll participate in your challenge. That's great. Yeah. If you come to my table and you have an energy card and you're looking for a $1 card, okay.
Yeah. No, I could see that. So we're approaching way past 30 minutes. I knew this was going to go over 30 minutes. Here's my goal, though.
I'm a talker.
I'm trying so hard to hold back, too, because I'm a talker as well. I think that's what makes a successful vendor is being able to talk to people. But we can go on a tangent there.
For sure.
My goal is in the next 6 months, right? In 6 months, we'll be having the same conversation and see if anyone's opinions have changed.
Oh, okay.
I'm also doing between two vendors of a gentleman who's going to be vending his first show next week. Again, I would say you as a little bit more seasoned than he is. It'll be his first experience, and it'll be two different perspectives.
I wouldn't quite say that I'm a vet in the space. I'd still say that I am a beginner to an intermediate.
I didn't say vet. I said seasoned.
Yeah, I'd say, but I want to clear that.
Some folks have been doing like 200, 300 shows a year. Yeah,
ain't even that many weekends in a year, partner.
Yeah.
But yeah, point being is that, like, you know, I think I have a lot of room to grow in terms of like inventory and like my knowledge in the space of vending, but I'm excited to see where it goes.
If I could clip a picture of me meeting Thomas for the first time at his booth, Poke Bash 2, and then where he is now, it's ridiculous.
It's on my Instagram.
Yeah, I'll probably post it on the channel and be like, look, if you do it the right way, you can grow fast and you can grow like your business.
Here's the thing. I will send you clips. I have a video of my first show. I recorded my table and I put it on my Instagram. And then I posted a video on my Instagram today about my table.
I should have done that.
Yeah. Every time I set up at a show, I will post a little reel. I'll say, hey, this is me. I'm here. And then I'll say, this is my inventory. And I'll say, I'm next to John. Hit up John. Yada, yada, yada. So, like,
you saw my booth the first time. It was it was just a
hodgepodge.
Had
4 cases today.
5, but we won't go there.
5. You have 5 cases today.
Cool. No, you're right. Any words of wisdom between two vendors, like what I did there?
Words of wisdom. I don't know. Just do what you like doing, man. Like, you know, if you're not hurting anybody else, just do what you like doing.
Yeah. I'm gonna like segue off of that. I told 2 of the newest vendors that I quote unquote coached, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a completely different business, but it's Pokemon related, but it's all virtual, right? And I was like, I want to do vending.
Yeah.
Where was I going with this? Oh, if at any point in time you're not having fun, that's a problem.
It's time to get out.
Yeah, it's a problem. And because again, how you're feeling, you might not think you're putting that into the atmosphere, but you are.
Yeah.
You could tell when some vendors aren't having fun. It's like, hey, dude, that's contagious.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to walk to your table if you're looking grumpy.
Nah, if you're sitting down, you look sad, you're on your phone, I'm like, okay, well, I might glance at your table, but like, if I see John and John's like, yo, what up, Thomas? We dap each other up, doing whatever. I'm like, I'm talking to that guy.
Yeah. Last thing, I know we're approaching an hour. You're hungry. I'm hungry. I gotta go home. You did a deal earlier, right? Where the gentleman was on the fence. Walk me through that. I'm not trying to gas myself up, but when it comes to like ethics, right? Just getting the deal done.
Okay. All right.
My biggest thing, and Thomas will go into it a little bit, was making sure that guy felt like he was supported. Because ultimately, we'll probably see him again one day.
Oh, for sure.
And I want to make sure that he knows we're just not in it just for the money. Like, I want to make something happen so he feels right, you feel right, and we can continue to be happy in this hobby.
Yeah. Okay. So a gentleman came to the table, and he had a 151 Charizard that he was looking to get out of. So I was like, I am out of 151 Charizards, and I need one.
Yep.
And I had already sold 2 today, and he was like, "What's market on it?" I said 222. He was like, "Wow, you pulled that." I said, "I've sold all of mine today. I would really like to have yours." And he was like, "Okay." He had it valued at around 250. I showed him what I valued it. I said it's 224. So I said I'll give 224 is what TCG Player says.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll bring it at 80% on trade. And he had looked at a few things. It was a Shining Moon from Sun and Moon. It was a Light Play Armored Mewtwo, and it was the 151 Pokemon Center stamp.
In my opinion, very liquid cards.
Super. Well, honestly, hot take, Armored Mewtwo, not that liquid.
Really?
Every time I get it, it sits. It sits, sells, and then it comes right back into my inventory.
So it's like
sells.
liquid. Just you got to have the right market.
You gotta find the right guy.
It was English too, right?
It was English,
which is kind of rare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was LP, so it was Snorlax was 180.
Mm-hmm.
LP Mewtwo was 67, and the Shining Mew was 66.
Yeah.
And so he was like, he had kind of gone back and forth, and he was like, well, I have this Pokemon Center Journey Together ETB. Would you be interested in that? I said, sure. Well, sure. So we comped it. I said, this is what I've got it at. This is what I can, like, this is what I'll bring it in trade. He was like, hey, I'm really cool with that. And so it came down to, he was about $20 short. And so we talked, and he was really thinking, and he was really hung up on the value of the Charizard.
Yeah.
He was confident that the value of the Charizard was around $250 because other people were selling it at the show for $250.
Or asking
$250. And I said, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll evaluate it at $224. I'll put it in the case at $224.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna try to overcharge it. Like, you can literally see in my case that this is $67. This is $53. Like, this is basically to the dot, like to the rounded up dollar or rounded down dollar of whatever it is. Yep. So I said, I'm not gonna put a $250 sticker on it. It's just not what it is. So
you'd have been above market on that card.
Way above market. That would have been $25 above market. It's just like, it's unrealistic. So we went back and forth, and he sort of hemmed and hawed, and I was like, okay, well, what would make this more comfortable? X, Y, Z, yada,
That's
yada,
the
yada.
key word. What's comfortable for you?
Yeah. I was like, if we want to shorten this deal, and we say, okay, maybe it's just one card, because the Charizard would just flat out cover straight trade for the Snorlax.
Yeah.
The Snorlax.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Because it brought in on trade came out to about 180. And I was like, all right, cool. But he really liked the other two. And I was like, well, let's make something happen. And so we kind of went back and forth. And some other guy then started to wait for this deal to be done. And he was kind of looking at the Charizard that I was about to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
And then John came over and was like, what's hanging up this deal? And I said,
sorry. I was like,
because it's curiosity, man. Yeah. It's curiosity. And so
he was a collector.
Mm-hmm.
At first he was a collector. So that's why I felt more comfortable, because I was like, he talked to me about actual Pokemon stuff, and I was like, he actually watches the show, collects.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
I was nosy.
I'm nosy at your thing. Yeah. Fine. And so like he got, honestly, there were several deals today where I was looking over. I was trying to
holy cow! I was
$2,000
on the table.
I was paying attention. I was like, what was happening over there? Like, I'm nosy. I want to know, man.
They're just throwing slabs at each other.
And so finally, John came over, and so I broke down the math of everything, how it happens, and I said, this is this. And he's like, so what's the hang up? I said, it's about $20. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, it's just like $20. He's just like, and so then he was like, yeah, I'm, the Charizard evaluation. And John he take $20 out of his fan pack, and he goes, get the deal done. Threw $20 down. He goes, I'll pay the difference.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, dude, get this deal done, man.
Keep cooking.
And here's the thing. It just benefited the guy at the other end of the table, It was like, he is happy with he got. I got a deal done.
And now Thomas has to compete with every other vendor that has a Charizard in their case.
Amen. There are times where Charizards don't get even looked at, and I sold 2 today.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever. But,
But he was happy, and I think that's what $20 to me versus someone who probably will be back will remember that.
Yeah.
And not necessarily debate over the price on an X card. It might happen, but I know that we did the right thing.
I think so. I mean, we made a guy happy.
Yeah, $20 versus not making a deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things.
Charizard's clean too.
You're gonna grade it, hit a 10.
I might.
Oh my gosh.
I don't grade a whole lot of things. I grade very few cards, but because I'm super picky.
Yeah. Well, you got a good 10 rate, so. Yeah.
The last couple have not been super great, but on my last submission, I submitted 1 card and I got a 10, 100%.
Done.
For boosting the gem rate.
All right. Well, cool. Before we end, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, man.
This is the first time between 2 vendors. I know it's always kind of weird doing like something that we haven't done before, but Thomas live streamed on Instagram, and I was like, I like his style. Let's get this done. We're gonna come back in like 6 months and just see where we're at opinion wise. You gave your advice. I'd say we can end it here because we could be talking for 2 hours.
Oh, for sure. I'm a yapper dog.
We went over successful vendors versus unsuccessful. Really just comes down to building relationships, doing it the right way instead of trying to just overspend, overdo deals and stuff like that. But ultimately, I'll say my goal when it comes to vending and the hobby, and then I would really want you to say.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
My goal is to continue to just build a community around something that means a lot to me, which is obviously TCG. I have a lot of different TCGs, but Pokemon is definitely one that sparks good memories growing up. And then obviously, make a little bit of money, have fun with it, and build something that I think that COVID kind of took away a little bit with, talking to people. I spent a lot of time talking to people through computers.
Yeah.
So when I'm here, I will tell you, I'm having fun.
Eating it up. Just eating it up.
This is man. Like, I'm just like, I'm absorbing all this communication.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, cool. What's your number one goal?
My number one goal, man, I think it's just driven by my collection.
Yeah.
Sure, I have, I think I can set some realistic goals for the business side of things, but I think what drives the business is the collection. And so I think I just acquired my Grail.
NPP.
And I acquired it was a PSA 10 Fates Collide Secret Rare. It's the gold one with Umbreon and Lugia in the background. Now I'm like, what 10 am I chasing? There's really only three really that are bigger than that. We're looking at First Edge Shadowless, PSA 10, which is bonkers. We're looking at Miyazaki, or Misaki.
I'm not going to try to pronounce it.
It's the Miyazaki PSA 10. It's a Pop 40. And then the Gold Star Alakazam PSA 10.
Gold Star Alakazam. Can't go wrong with Gold Stars.
I've had the opportunity to buy a PSA 1 and a PSA 4, and I've passed on them because I had already spent too much money.
Cool. I think we're good. Anything else you wanted to talk? I know we're kind of closing it out.
Anything I want to talk about? Yeah, I could talk forever. I mean, honestly, come to a show. Come to a show. If you've never been to a show, come to a show.
Brilliant segue. Pirate Dog Cards and Collectibles.
Yep.
Pokebash 4
and 5.
And 5, but 4 is on the 19th of April.
Yeah, it should be next Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, next Saturday, which I believe is the 19th because today's the 12th.
Yes, it is the 19th.
Where is it at again?
Pokebash 4, I believe, is at Hanover Academy.
Yeah.
Let me double check because I don't know anything.
Oh, man, we should have talked about that. But we'll talk about it next segment. Definitely give Jason a follow on Pirate Dog Cards and Collectibles.
Hanover Academy, TCG exclusive.
When does it start? Where's the address?
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
until the party is over.
Yeah, 100 vendors plus.
Yes, I think so.
And just look it up if we don't have the address. So
Pirate Dog Cards and Collectibles. Here's the event schedule. Screenshot it. Boom, done.
And there's going to be a DJ. Cool.
DJ Edo Face, probably. He's the same guy who's been here at the last couple.
Rock on, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. See y'all.